Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to be interviewing somebody who actually suffered under the Chinese Communist Party and actually asking her about the situation that she endured and some of the details in terms of the atrocities that are taking place in East Turkestan. And with me is Arsalan Hidayat from Talk to East Turkestan, and let's just get started. So firstly, thank the sister for being brave enough to come and interview on this topic, and we really appreciate her coming forward.
Birinci bo'lib sizga rahmat aytg'ili keldim. Shu sizning durumingizni, sizning hikoyangizni anglash uchun sizga rahmat.
Men ko'p rahmat aytaman. Bizning Sharqiy Turkiston bo'layotgan zulmlarni, Uyg'urlarning bo'layotgan arziyatlarni antish uchun nurg'ulgan jafalarni tatqalganingizdan Alloh rozi bo'lsin.
She would like to thank you for making it all this way to interview and to get her story out there and basically shedding light on what's happening to the Uyghurs in Uzbekistan.
Which one is that? Yours or?
Love.
We can carry on.
Yeah. Don't play. So guys, I'm basically gonna ask her what her story is. She does have a story to tell us. Basically, the first experiences where she was taken by the Chinese police, Chinese authorities, and eventually sentenced and her time in prison. So I'll start off with that. Birinchi qitim shu Xitoylar tarafidan tutqun qilinibsiz. Birinchi qitim nima sabablikdan va qanchalik kesdi degan sizning hikoyangiz hisobda. Boshdan birinchi qitim.
Birinchi qitimdagi turmada sababim faqat men musulmon qarindoshlarimizga, janubda kelgan qarindoshlarimizga uy berganligim uchun, oziq yetishtirib berganligim uchun, chunki ular Kuchadan, Aksudan, Xotandan, Qashqardan icrat qilib chiqqan meni uyim ko'rildi. Icrat olganimiz uchun ro'pashg'anki ularga uy hech kim bermadi, chunki men kasbim tiborat kasb, maqsad ayollarni davolash kasbim. So'ng do'konim keldi, kasal ko'rdim, darsni berdim, so'ndan yig'ladi bular. Meni necha uyim bor-ku. Oy bo'ldi, g'am qilmanglar voyjon. Men uyimga yetib qolmanglar dedim, chunki ularning asar qiyinchilik dehqon bo'lgan. Shu ularga necha uyimni berdim, men uyda bolalarni Qur'on o'qitishni davom qildim. Bitta yemaklik iqtisodiyotga yordam qildim, chunki men sharoitim bo'lganligi uchun. Shu sababdan men ularning qandayligini men bilmayman. Shu sababdan ularni nima jinoyatchi deb bekitib, imkonga shu ularni kim chaqishtirib, bizning odamlar chaqishtirdi yana. Shundan keyin soqchiga bordim, soqchining guvohnigini so'roq qildi.
Okay, men shuni tarjima qilib o'tay. So apparently she's from a place called Korla. She's in the health industry. We have like Uyghur medicine.
Yep.
And so she's from a place called Korla, and she was housing or accommodating people from the south of East Turkestan. So in the south, you generally have more conservative Muslims, like people in niqab, longer beards, and she was housing them, taking care of them, feeding them, accommodating them. She's got a few houses, and in those houses, she accommodated people who were learning Quran. And one day, she was taken to the police, like people dobbed her in. We have a lot of this where people are dobbed on. Do you have that term? You understand what that means? Yeah, from dobbed on. Okay, I'm gonna ask her now. The first time, so she was taken because of this to a police station in Korla, and where she was interrogated, and we'll go on from there. Tamam, sizni soqchixona apiribdi Korlada.
Soqchixonada 3 kun so'roq qildi. Temirbandan o'tbag'isi, qutumda ishkal, quloqda ishkal. Bir ursa ko'zi ishkallar chimaydi-ku. Manga ishkim vat pozmasa deshimga so'roq qildi. 3 kechkimiz uxlatmadim.
Nima beshingizga nima qo'ydi?
100 watt 1000 wattga chiroq qilganlikdan shu tarafda sizni uxlatmaydi.
3 kun bo'yicha shunda.
3 kunduz.
So when she was taken into the one of the cells, she said she was put onto a chair where she was shackled. She had 1000 watts of light on 2 sides, so she can't sleep, and she was in that state. She was interrogated that way for 3 days. Continuous. So demek 3 gün boyunca uxlamadınız. So for 3 days, for 72 hours, she was not able to sleep.
Çayım yok, nam yok, sum yok, yeşim yok.
So she's saying for 3 days, no water, no food. Sorak kıldı bu jarayanda. Interrogation, no water, no food. 1000 watts of voltage light. You don't sleep, and siz ne uyudu mu şu 3 günce?
Vurdu da olmuştu.
So and with that sleep deprivation, she was also beaten. Apparently she's got some scars.
Bir yıl 18 kilo şeker tuğdu.
Bir yıl?
18 kiloluk şeker.
So apparently she had 18 kilo shackles on her ankles for 1 year. I'm going to ask her what year this was, what year this actually happened. 2017 in December, she was taken in. So this oppression happened to her. She was tortured in this way, and so I'm going to ask her what happened after those 3-day interrogation.
Sorak degendiki akırıp koydu, akırıp 3 günü bir sorak çıktı, birisi çıktı, birisi çıktı. Kız ağız sakarat.
Mesela sizin 3 gün aşında sorak oldu. Kim neç gün damağızıp demdik?
2 günü bir çıktı.
Yani 3 gün.
Yani 2 günü bir, 3 günü bir.
Bu kançılık devam kıldı.
Sot çıktı, bir yılda çıktı sotka. Hüküm kılağına.
Siz demekçi bunun 1,5 yıl boyunca, 18 ay boyunca, 3 gün sonra, ilkandak sonra, 2 gün demeliş, 3 gün sonra. The sister is telling us that for a year and a half, for 18 months, as I mentioned, that 3-day torture, that 3-day interrogation, that would happen, 2 days off, another 3 days, 2 days off, another 3 days, for 18 months. I'm going to ask her how she endured that torture, because that seems impossible, even for like a very strong man. Sizin soraydığınım, siz kandak Türkçe dayanıdı, hem de kandak çiğdiyalı 18 ay, 3 gün çıktı.
Çiğdemay amalı yok. Çünkü sorak jarayanda acayip bir hem de horluk, acayip bir hakaret. Hem anası taamladan. Elak pişmagan kan vurman mamse, elak jündedek lobotan deymiz, elak kurt, boğum kurtlar var. Çıkan şu beseytan deymiz. Hep de belki tamak hassas edip durdu, pulga bomuz satmaydım. Aşının bilen cahandacılık kılgan ki. Ölmesinin darısı o. Şununla ben 75 kilo kırgen, 60 kilo uçup kaldım. Ananki sot açtı, 3 gün sot açtı. Geçip 4 yıl hüküm kıldı. Mena cinayetim ne oldu?
Ben bir şeyle tercüme kılayım. So every day they were basically given very non-nutritious food, basically some sort of steamed bun, and then you've got like a soup, like maybe some lettuce, and very unnutritious. So that's what they're fed with. So after the reason how the interrogation stopped is because of her court date. So she was sent to court. She had a trial, and the sot kileyle sotta nim yüz verdi.
Sotta 3 gün o da sot açtı.
3 gün o da.
Çünkü biz uyutuğan balla, kızla, ayalla deyimiz. Olan hemen ekirdi. Sonra sot nim cinayet kegizdi de, kalpaklı kegizdi. Devlet parça cinayeti aktif katmışlar. Lakin ondan maksadımız yok, ondan hiyalımda mı yok benim.
Siz İsa'da ne çıkışını İsa'da bir kavatkandım da?
Aldık yani 13 mu oldu değil.
So she was basically, according to the Chinese state, harboring separatists, 13 separatists. This was a crime. And Töchül kesti demsiz.
Töchül kesti.
So after a 3-day trial, they sentenced her to 4 years in prison. Peki herhalde onun burnu çıktınız.
Yok, töchül bitir çıktı.
2017'de 12. ayda kırdınız.
Kırdım. Bir yerimizin açtırma kolla kanser yaptı. Tutuş onda. Anladı 2 yerimizin örümcesi ayalatımızı ödedi.
So she did her 4 years time. Yes. And siz kaçan İstanbul'a geldiniz?
2016 geldim. Çünkü töchül bitir çıktım. Çıkış jarayonida.
Hatta to'xtab turing, siz abi 2017'de 12. ayda nima kırdım dediniz?
2007'de.
Ha, 2007'de. Okay. So I want to make a correction. This happened in 2007, not 2017. Mixing up the dates.
Before the camps.
Yeah, before, like, so a good 10 years before the camps, she did her 4 years. So siz nechinchi yili chiqib ketdingiz turmadan?
2011.
2011. So in 2011, in December, she was released from prison. Chiqib bo'lgandan keyin, I'm going to ask her what happened right after she was released.
Chiqib bo'lgandan keyin sizni aramaz qo'ymaydi. 3 kunda Gobani chaqirdi, 3 kun Guanchini chaqirdi, 3 kun Anchending chaqirdi. Kanımızın aramını qattiq qo'ymadi. Faqat anası akamning o'limiga boramidi, aşağı turib, akamning o'limiga qatnashamidi.
Nima uchun qatnashtirg'izmaydi?
Nimchadan chiqmaysa deydi. Mumkin emas chiqish.
Nima ilqi o'zing mahalladan chiqish?
Mahalladan chiqish ruxsat yo'q.
Right. So after she was released, she was basically she was on some sort of parole where she had to go and visit, or she would be visited by Chinese authorities, and she couldn't leave her neighborhood. So she had to be around her neighborhood. Demek 2011'dan keyin mahallangizdan chiqolmaysiz. Bu necha yil davom qildi?
Oldi keyin 3 yil davom qildi. Qandan keyin men tariximni qarchikni cho'qizdim, alifni Xitoy pulga. Ondan keyin pasport ishlab chiqdi. Ondan keyin pasport ishlatish uchun ruxsat o'rimchi bordim. So'zimni jo'tadim chiqib. Şuna pasportum için qarchikni jo'g'an bilan da'man tarix so'lmaydi ekan. Undan 70 ming Xitoy puli berdim, tanishlar orqali. Shu tariximni jo'g'azdan pasportni oldim, 2016 bu yerga chiqdim.
So basically, after she left prison in 2011, for the next 3 years, she was constantly visited and she would have to go report herself. After that parole period was over, she felt she needed to basically leave. She paid sums of first 50,000 Chinese yuan to basically get rid of her criminal history, because now she's got like a criminal record. Then she had to pay, once she got to the capital, Urumqi, she had to pay a further 70,000 just to get a passport. And then in 2016 she made her way to Istanbul, Turkey. Should I go ahead and ask her about what she experienced in the prison?
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is before the concentration camp, so this is,
Tamam, aşu 4 yıl yetiş jarayonida nima ishlar yuz berdi? Nima ishlarni ko'rdingiz siz?
Endi u fajiani nima qilsam o'pganda ko'rilaydi.
Agar rahatsız bo'lsangiz,
yo'q, endi demayman, uni anglashsa qilmaydi, uni o'nim bo'lmaydi.
Okay.
So 22 yoshga kirgan Qashqarlik qizning faqat kimligini ishlatmagan gunohiga antun tug'mi qilib, kaltaklab, urib, yalang'och esib turib, dembang to'p kaltaklab, jinsi azayib tiqib, ashlar qilib, kechki turimiz qiynab, o'milab kirgan qiz. Bizni yataqdi.
So in her cell, she saw a 22-year-old girl being tortured to pretty much, she didn't die, but close to death. And apparently one of her injuries was that she was hit with an electric baton, but they also used that electric baton to put it in her genitalia. And she actually had to crawl, they're in the same cell, so she saw her crawl back into the cell. Yeah, that's something that she saw.
And this is a regular thing that happens in this prison with women.
Siz abay degandek iş bu normal her zaman bulduğun ahval mı?
Evet buludu. Şu turmanın işkiye tanışkı jarangı deçiz jürek bir ağzı tıkılıp kaldığından. Çünkü sonra kaçkan ki boş koymaydı o.
So she's saying yes, that it's a normal procedure, and every time the doors to any of the cells open, their hearts drop, like what's going to happen now.
So in terms of this type of sexual violence, this is like not an anomaly, this is just a standard procedure of the Communist Party prisons.
According to her, yes.
And 16 yaşlı kızını biz doğan kızını toygan anne kalkan 9 ay toy degen balını sorak jarayan urup onu bunu kıldı. Anamki yol dışını tutup algan. Sorak jarayan eçikte toğlay degen balını okulları düşürüp 10 gün bolganda şu nazarban astıga elip bizim aşağı yatkan yatakka akırıp koydu. O kızın adeti toktamagan. Ele kızın köksüdeki ele toktamay. İşte acayip pace. Eçinişlik pace. İşte
one of the girls which she was taking care of in one of the 13, she was 16. She was married and she was 9 months pregnant, and during the interrogation she was beaten a lot, and they gave her a needle and they aborted her child, this 16-year-old's child, when she was 9 months pregnant, and after the say death or abortion or whatever you call it, she was still lactating, and if the milk doesn't come out, then the woman suffers a lot of pain, and she saw that pain. I'm gonna ask her what she went through. This is some of the tortures that she's seen. I'm gonna ask her what sort of torture she went through.
Be a bit careful, because she was crying earlier. So
yeah.
Maybe if we just focus on other things, it may be difficult for her to carry on.
I'll ask her if she's okay. Eğer deyişqa rahat bolsanız, mesela siz ama kuyganlar dediniz, mesela rahat bolsanız, mesela siz bevasita başqa nimalarni yaşadınız yani. Deyalisiniz, eğer deyamsınız meyli.
Diyemeydi iş yok ki.
Okay.
Vicdan degizdi o. Vicdancı adamın. O yerdeki pacalarını şu kadarına o yerki kan besim olup çıktım mesela. Şeker kesili olup çıktım. Çünkü kan besimlerden geldi, roy besimden oldu. Her bir sorakta, her bir azap okubat. Çaştan ağzını, sizinkine kıp koydu çocuğunuzunu, çaşını. Ananken şu çivi vakası urulup kalıp bizim ayarlar turmusu yok. Çivi vakası ki o kızların degenin zincirle sörüp, çığırtın kızın çakalıklarını çakar, sert kıynaydı. İşte o pacanı nimsam oldu, işte pek kanım yerim oldu, onu oylısam komisim öyle bitekken. İşte pek içinişlik, onun turmunun içi, ben çatal turmularını telefonla nimede kinolar görmez, onda pacalık emez. Bizden vatanlık paca, acayip paca. İçinişlik paca. O kızlarını tolası, işte tayak hep bile gitgeli bekçek turmutçu. Tayak işçi bitip gitti, konserap bitip digendekçi. Ana aşkazan kesil olup, aşkazan bozuldu o yerde. Çünkü arkadaşlarını yiysiz, okullarını yiysiz. İşte yaxşı gün yok ameliyatımda. Demek gapning xulosasiga kelsak, haqiqiy qirg'inchilik. Uyghur bo'lgan gunohimiz va boshqa gunohimiz. Ular musulmonlar Turkiya nima ish qildim men? Ish qilmadim, mana faoliyatos qatnashman, chunki qatnashmasam mening vicdonim qo'ymaydi. Shuning qizim qanday qildi? 2,5 yildan lagerga kirib ketdi. 8 navaram nima bo'ldi? Sarsanchilik. 8 navaramni olsam 8-ni chatoq chiqibdi. Adam boya, bola boya boramaydi.
So apparently, I forgot to translate this before, but she went in there. 75 kilo kirgan tamashuna amma boshda. So she went in there with 75 kilos, and then she left 60 kilos. She ended up having high blood pressure. she ended up having a lot of stomach problems because they were constantly fed different sort of pills and medicine. During her stay, we obviously, she was in 2007, and in 2009, July, we know of the Urumqi massacre, and she saw a lot of the women, a lot of women being dragged and beaten to death during that time. She sort of skipped over like what she went through. She just like stomach problems and blood pressure, and I didn't poke into anything else. And she's saying what she saw was just our people were just being wiped out. It was just like so systematic, even back then. And apparently hazır sizin kızınız lagerda şuna mı?
2 yılda yetip çıktı.
Yetip çıktı.
Yetip çıktı anlamadım. Ama 4 yıl oldu ne balının zıvanı anlamadım.
So for 4.5 years she hasn't been able to contact her children, but for 2.5 years her own daughters are still there, and they were for 2.5 years in the camps. They're out now, and her 8 grandchildren are suffering from like psychological issues because of this tragedy, and they're not right psychologically, apparently.
You know, with this everything that was happening around her, Sister Zumra Dawood said that she was given pills to psychologically affect her, right, by the gods. So did they give any medicine to her to not medicine, some pills to her to control her mind?
So she was given pills. I'm going to ask her what the effect of those pills were. Siz dediniz sizge daim dar berip turuptu, yani okul dedi. Ha. Bu darlar sizni nim qildi? Qanday ta'sir ko'rsatgan?
Masalan, bütün qilgan tomirlaringizni qurtdi degan avtarchi.
Qilgan tomir degan
inchik tomirlaringizni.
Okay. Qurtdi degan.
Ha, azın tizimi tören sizim yok. Ben nurg'ilgan davolashlarni qildim. Andan keyin turmada ayollarimiz xonaqilida o'rningizdan qo'pmay 4 jasbanda cho'qim o'tirsiz. Oyoq-moyoq qilmasa o'tirsiz.
Kunda necha soat?
Necha soat o'rganish qilsiz. Siyosiy qonun, asosiy qonun, turma qonuni, jinoiy ishlar qonuni butunlay Xitoycha o'qiysiz, Uyg'urcha o'qisangiz bo'lmaydi.
So one of the needles or the medicine or the drips, whatever they were getting, she goes, because she's in the health, she does this Uyghur, there's a special health that we do, like it's kind of like Chinese herbal medicine, but we have Uyghur herbal medicines. And so she said that, I'm not a doctor or anything, but direct translation goes, it dried up her veins. I don't know, the vein, and she goes, till now she can't feel her soul. So right now she can't really feel anything in both her legs. She's tried different sort of medication, but still hasn't been able to. And every day they sit in a position where they are made to learn in Chinese law, jail policy, Chinese language, and they can't. You know, when you like learn, you're at school and you move around and you know you got to be in a certain position, like frigid, learning this basically Chinese propaganda.
So'roqlarga chiqsin, nimaga chiqsin, beshingizni ko'tarib o'tirolmaysiz. Chiqim engak mishaga taqish kerak. Shu maya o'sib ketdi, maya so'ngida chiqib qoldim yerimni.
O'tirish, aslida o'tirsan sizdamda yoki bo'lmasa birini qo'yib zo'rlab aslida bo'lamdi ya?
Yo'q, cho'qim o'tirish kerak.
So what they do is when you are interrogated, you just sit in a normal seat, but they tell you have to sit in a position where you are like leaning, and there's nothing to hold you down that way. But this would, I'm adding my own words here, this would affect you psychologically, like to be in this sort of half ruku state.
Yeah. So you know, with these prisons and concentration camps, we know they try to get rid of people's iman, their faith. What was it about religion, or is it that someone's more religious, they're going to be more aggressive towards you? Maybe ask her something about that.
Siz bu Xitoylar bizning dinimizni yo'qotishga tirishayotganmiz. Masalan, ba'zi chet elliklar shuni tushunmaydi. Ya'ni Tıxim şu iman şu itilip tursa tıxim zulüm kılamdı yoki bo'lmasa farq etamdi yoki bo'lmasa
zulüm bu.
Yani tıxim o mesela riba çekti ya bo'lmasa saqlab atdı. Uları çıqıraq zulüm kelamdi.
Çıqıraq zulüm keldi. Men turmadan chiqib uzun o'tmay men do'konimni tozalab, dechak kiyib chiqdim menda. Chiqib axlatni to'kib o'tib, oqim yonsam mashinada shunda tez o'tib, "O, to'xta" deb to'g'ildi. Shunda do'kon kirsam oqimni jukrab.
Turmadan keyin deysiz.
Turmadan keyin. O nima kiyib olding, nima ma'vo deb. Ben şarpı yağlış çeksem axlat töküşkü qulaysizga do'kon tozalashni kiyib turdim. Ikkinchi kiyib samojima bugun ko'rib qoldim. Sen turma kirib ketma, adam bo'lmasa dedi.
Saqchimish gapni qildi. Okay. So after prison, right? When she was cleaning her shop, she was dressed in this way, and one day she was throwing out some rubbish, and the police were driving around like, "Haven't you learned your lesson? You are in prison. How come you're still dressing like this?" And she made the excuse, "Well, I'm cleaning up. I don't want to get dirty, so I've covered myself up." And she goes, "I don't want to." And the police, they're like, "I don't want to see you like this ever again, in this dress." Yeah, and she's saying, the more religious you are, the more you are punished.
The more you're punished. Yeah. And in prison, like I'm guessing they try to also indoctrinate a type of state atheism. Like this is not the concentration camps, so we're not sure if they advanced it to this level, but with Sister Zumrat they were trying to tell her there's no God and stuff like this. Was there any religious atheistic indoctrination in the prisons?
Mesela azı bilimiz var lagerlarda nima proper kallı juyduruş yani İslam'ı unutup İslam'ı komünizmni qabul qil degandek. Siz turmadagi ba vaqtingizda ashtaq darslar o'tganmi?
O'tgan, darsni o'tgan. Masalan, nimadan o'tgan? Dinga ishonmaysan. Anasini naqshi aytganda nashliq berishdan burun Xitoycha naqshi aytgan, men buncha nonjumishimda. Cho'qim aytsiz.
Siz turma vaqtim shu o'xshash. So she's saying obviously with concentration camps you've described Zumrat Dawood went through that. Even in 2007, she said she went through the same thing, like no worshipping in Islam, like pretty much everything what's happening now was happening back then as well.
Being told that there is no God and yeah.
Mesela sizga mesela Allah yo'q. They make you say it. They make you profess
that. They make you say there's no God.
Yo'q. Masalan, kitap o'qib, istimizda o'qiymiz arqadan narsani. Kitap o'qib qisqa yataqni nimasini chaqishtirdi. Bu kitobni ovoz chiqarib o'qimadi deb. Jazo soldi.
So apparently when they're reading the indoctrination books, if they're not reading loud enough, they punish you because they're saying, "Oh shit, they're probably reading something else on the inside."
So it's deep psychological warfare. And how did it make you feel that they were telling you to say that there is no God when you do believe in Allah?
Siz Allah'a iman etken birisi. Şu yerdeki Xitay saqchilari Allah yo'q, İslam'a ishonma degancha siz qanday bir tuyg'uda bo'ldingiz? Tıximmi?
Kuchlisiz. Onunla siz imanınızı sızlab ketmaydi. Bular xato o'ylayotdi. Ammo shunaqa qilsa besim qilsa bular iymonni mumkin emas. Masalan, do'yinlar chiqaryapti-ku, anda-munda deb chiqaryapti. Hammasi amalib, besim rejimning ostidan lager kirib yetib qolishni, tuqqanlarni yetib qolishni xohlamaydi u ishga. Chunki azob oqibat-ku, uni ichi bir tirik dozaq deymiz endi uning ichini. Shu sababdan ular hadab ketyapti-ku, amal ichi yurdi. Lekin mumkin mutlaqo iymonni yenib qolamaydi kishga. Shunda adam.
So she's saying, you know, how did you feel? And she was like, well, the Chinese think they can get rid of Iman just by making us say these things, but she goes, you just become a lot more stronger. Like they've got it all wrong, thinking just because people are saying they don't believe in Allah, but just inside we're just like bursting. They're like bursting with Iman.
Ben Xitaycha bilgachga butun moddalarni Xitaycha yodladim men. Masalan, kitoblarni. Butun 3 oy 10 kun men pak ziyotlab bo'ldim. 3 oy 10 kunda 3800 Xitaycha xatni yozib, gazet materiallarni o'qib olib ketdim. Yozib bir yoqdan. Ana keyin qanday qildim? Turmadan shundan chiqdim, kallam qop-quruq, hech qaysi turmayman.
So she's saying within within a 100-day period, she memorized all of their propaganda books, and she was able to fluently, like her Chinese wasn't as good or close to nil, but after that 100-day period, she was able to write like essays in Chinese. But as soon as she left, it was like it all left her.
Kışımızdan soğukta mı yottan kulunuz tıp yatamayısız, çok mu yottan çıkıp yatısız. Nasıl küzdü? Kullanım kıbınız okandı, kınım kalandı, dapçı.
They even go, obviously, you know, there are different ways through the dhikr, right? And apparently, you know, in winter, you cover up as much as you can. So especially in winter, they check where your hands are at. Are they doing dhikr with the fingers? But obviously, you know, as Muslims, we know we can do. We don't even need our fingers, you know. Okay. But they would check people like. Exactly what I just said. So, just like we're obviously doing dhikr in the heart, like, but they even check what your hands are doing and things like this in the winter, especially. So you're not allowed.
O dihalını aşı Xitay için bilim geldiği için aşı hadis kızımızdan soğuk suda koridorun bilsizler koydunlar dedim. Aşağı jükündürüp oturup tazlaydı. Biz örtüğüz tam uyuyup manti saat cazalaydı tam kat. Tamakını kısıdı.
There are 60-year-old farmers who don't know a lick of Chinese. It's impossible for them to learn, and so to punish them, they make them get on their hands and knees and wash the corridors of the prisons, and every other time they make them stand like leaning on the wall, like up straight.
Just to make sure that they're humiliated and punished.
Because it's pretty much impossible for them to, no matter how much you try to indoctrinate them with.
You know, with the Muslims, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that the Ummah is one body, and when one part is in pain, then the whole body is in pain. So what does she expect from the Muslims all across the world who hear this stories of people like her? What can they do to stop this oppression?
Biz Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem şunlar degan, ümmet bir vücuttur, bir vücutun bir parçası ağrınsa bütün vücut ağrıydı. Müslüman dünyası bilsiz bazı bir aletde Müslüman dünyası qanday qilish kerak? Siz qanday tavsiya, qanday bilmimda?
Ben bu to'liq yamanchoq o'ylandim. Endi Müslüman devlet olan ki aslında Müslümanlarga sahip çıkış kerak edi. Mayli Arap bo'lsin, mayli qanday ya bo'lishdan qat'iy nazar. Alhamdulillah Müslüman az Pakistan'ım deyli. Bo'lganligi uchun cho'qim biz Uyg'ur degan e'tiqodimiz, axloqimiz, dinimiz uchun qon kechyapmiz-ku, qonlarimizdan, jonlarimizdan ayrilyapmiz-ku. Bizni qanot ostiga olib biz uchun tik turish kerak edi aslida. Afsus, Alloh isloh qilsin. Lekin o alemde mi onun derdini tatlıdı bular. Allah'ın alıp bakan onun cezayını verdi Allah'ım. Herkes bu alemde mi Allah köstü koydu. Çünkü bir Müslüman kendisi kozaklık ballarını çürüyüp bakan, naksokul urup, Toğmaskı bir müce sahiplek vatı, darın bir vatıdı, Toğmaskı operasiya kılıngan. Üçüncü oğlumunu toğup boğan ki. Üçüncü oğlum Nurgul'un capalar tıkan, ben o yaka bir geçip sürüp.
Mecburi?
Mecburi. 16 ming Xitay pulu ceza töldüm. Töylep bana nüfus kağızdım. Bu nüfus kağızı poplu adet toxtamayla üzük saldı. O üzük bana yaraşımda 40 bir adet kep gitti. Şundan manda bol desem çakkan neme gibi operasiya bilim. Thomas operasiya yaptı o.
She said, the Muslim world, she's obviously talking about the governments here, should have taken us under their wing, should have been standing up for us, but they haven't. They will get their fair share in this world, and in the next, they should have supported us, but they haven't. We need more of their support, but basically she's not satisfied with what's been with the inaction. She's saying, how can you not support us? I mean, we're being sterilized. She said after the birth of her third child, because only Uyghurs can have 2 children. her third child, which is a boy, they made her put an IUD in that, you know, the ring, and that didn't work for her, so they forced her to get I don't know all the medical terminology, but she's not able to be pregnant anymore, whether they remove the uterus or whatever that is. So yeah, after she paid 16,000 Chinese RMB, which is, I mean, today's equivalent, which is nothing, but back then it would have been around $2,000-3,000, which is a lot of money. And yeah, she eventually can register her son, but after the third child, she had the operation, and yeah, the Muslims need to do more, and she's saying they will get their fair share in this world, and they're gonna face Allah one day, basically.
Absolutely. And just ask her for any last message she wants to give to all the people watching, because we try and share these stories so people take action. We don't want people to hear these stories and not take any action. We want them to stand up for the Uyghurs, social media, set up protests, do what they can. What's her message to everybody watching?
Ahırkı sualım da edim. En ahır sözleriniz neymi? Çünkü biz bir yerde mesela ma videonu körüp ütüp kitiplam emas, ma körüp bolgandan keyin bu bir iş kıgıdek bir ta'sir körüplam üçürütüp emas. Siz qanday ahırkı sözleriniz neymi? Yani insanlar qanday qilish kerak?
Endi insanlar çokum özünün dənini özünü anlatışını arzu qılıman. Çünki vətəndəki faciədə, bulardan faciəyə sükut qıb oturuş özü bir cinayət. Vicdansızlıq deməyəm də, mən aşağı oylayman. Bir olsun, çünki biz sözləş erkeliğimiz var. Sözləsək, sözümüzdə bir cəza bulatıdır. Sözləsək, inşallah Allah xeyirli qılar.
Mesela dünya xalqı da var, değil mi?
Dünya xalqının biz Uyg'urlarning derdini anlab, bizga bir putlasak, to'xtab turar. Ma Uyg'ur xalqi o'zaldiq Sharq Turkiston davlati ma 70 yilning 80 yilning Xitoy kommunistlar ishg'ol qildi. Malaga bir sahib chiqili, malaning derdini anglayli, mala uchun bir kişilik töhfemizni qatili deydigan mecburiyeti var deb o'ylayman men. İnsonparvarlikdan o'ylaganda. Musulmon bo'lsa, to'xtatdan meni diniy qarindishim, alhamdulillah musulmon, Muhammad sallallohu alayhi vasallamning ummati biz. Shuning uchun shularni bo'lsa-mu, Alloh rizolik uchun shularni dard anglab, shularga biz nima chiqish, bizning mecburiyetimiz sahib chiqish deb iymonni burchini ado qilishni so'rayman.
So she's saying, first from a humanity perspective, regardless of whether you're Muslim or not, people really need to dig down and look into their conscience. You have people being wiped off the world, and people need to not just listen, but do something to free these people. We were an independent country, and for the past 70, 80 years, you know, the Chinese have pretty much oppressed us. And for the Muslims, they really need to look down. Like, if you're really Muslim, then how can you just listen and do nothing about it? Like, where is that conscience? Where is that iman? She wants people to look deep down and ask themselves these questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Just thank her for being brave enough to do this interview, and definitely this is something which is on record, and it's going to be inshallah shared. And people of action are people of action, people of talk are people of talk. So people of action are going to take actions, they're going to take the Chinese government to account, use social media, talk to East Turkestan, you know, share the Facebook page, share the videos, and you know, her voice is not going to go unheard. Just inshallah, please assure of that.
Deydu, rahmet, müşnaq cesaretli sizning hikoyangizni anlatib berdingiz. Nurg'un insonlar bu dunyo, gap qilgan insonlar bor, harakat qilgan insonlar bor. Inshaalloh shu harakat qilgan insonlar anglab sizning hikoyangizni bu bo'sh bo'lib qolmaydi. Biz sizning bergan guvohlik qilamiz, qilgan ishlaringiz deydi.
İnşallah. Jazakallah xayr.
Allah razı olsun.
Allah xeyirli qilsin. Allah yar ve yardımcımız olsun. Bütün mümin Müslüman qardaşlarını Allah bir ıslah qilsin. Amin.